Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 229, and I am Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. Today is Friday, January 20th. Here in the United States, it's also Inauguration Day, where our new president will take office later. And regardless of how you feel about that, I'm just going to wish you all a happy Friday, and I hope life is good for you. Okay, so let's move on. I don't have anybody specific who introduced themselves in the welcome thread on the 90% Knitting board, so I will just say a general welcome. Hello, thank you for being here. Let's see, do I have any administrati to tell you besides welcoming people? Not really, I don't think so. I think we're good this week. You know where to find me. I always go back and forth. Should I tell you where it's posted? YouTube and iTunes. That's where I post this. I also post I embed the video in the episode thread on Ravelry in the 90% Knitting group. There's also a Fiber Nymph Dyeworks group on Ravelry, and there's a Fiber Nymph Dyeworks page on Facebook, which is an excellent place to follow for any news. So if you're a Facebook person, go ahead and like the Fiber Nymph Dyeworks page, and I put updates there for most everything that's going on in my 90% Knitting / Fiber Nymph Dyeworks world. Oh, a couple of interesting facts. Basically, my podiversary is kind of around now. I don't remember what the date was when I did my very first recording. I mean, that was back in 2011. I started the podcast in January of 2011. Now, if you go on YouTube and you look for podcasts from back then, you won't find them. You know what? I don't have my external hard drive plugged in. I was going to look and see if I could find the date of it. It was, I think, towards the end of January 2011 was when I recorded my very first podcast. I was on Blip back then, so a lot of my first podcasts up through like the early hundreds, I think, are gone because once Blip went defunct, they went, and I never re-uploaded them anywhere just because it would have taken way too much time. And believe me, there's really nothing worth seeing that's back that old. So there's a good number of my podcasts up on Blip though, or on YouTube and iTunes. I don't think the old ones are on iTunes anymore either. But anyway, it struck me this week that this would be like around my podiversary time, so that's kind of exciting. I never really do much to like celebrate my podiversary. Matter of fact, I usually don't even think about it until well after the fact. But the other thing that struck me, and this I did know in the back of my mind, although I was a little confused by it, is I started my business, Fiber Nymph Dyeworks. I started that the same year I started the podcast. The podcast came first, although my business was already in the preparatory stages at the same time I had started the podcast. But I didn't officially have my first shop update until I believe it was the end of March that year of 2011. But I definitely was working towards that, probably even actually the end of the year prior, like the end of the year 2010. I was already in the preliminary stages of getting my business started up. But I always think of January 2011 as the time when I officially started Fiber Nymph Dyeworks. That's when things got underway. So that means I am now in my 7th year of business. That was so exciting to me the other day when I thought about it, because I knew like I was in year 6 or I was coming up on my 6th year anniversary, but to feel like I'm in year 7 now, that just seems like an incredible number to me. So I don't know, that was very exciting, and I have to say thank you to all of you guys, because without your support and your interest and your enthusiasm for what I do, I wouldn't have a business. So anyway, thank you. And if you've been along on this crazy journey, whether it's with my yarn through the business or the podcast, all these years of listening to me go on, week in and week out, more or less, thank you. Obviously, it's not been weekly because this is only episode 229. I went through several phases where I was not podcasting super regularly, but that's okay. But anyway, if you've been around and you've been following all this, thank you. Thank you for being here. You do mean a lot to me, and I love interacting with you guys. So anyway, okay, I think that's all of the administrati actually. Let me tell you what I'm wearing, because I'm actually wearing another hand knit item, another very old hand knit item. I knit this back in 2009. This is the Plath cardigan, the Plath cropped cardigan, and it is cropped. Here, I'll show you. See, it's short. So, I knit this, like I said, back in 2009. It's made out of Shulana Merino Cotton 90, which is a merino and cotton blend. Obviously, it's an Aran weight yarn, which seems like an odd mix for merino and cotton because that's actually kind of warm, but it's a really nice sweater to wear. Usually I wear it like in spring and fall. That was when I got the most wear of it. I haven't worn it a whole lot lately, but I'll tell you what, my house is about 9,000 degrees today. Not because it's super warm out. I mean, it is actually very nice out today. I think it's in the 50s or something. I don't know. It's rainy, but it's in the 50s. However, I came home this morning. I had been up at the mountain house last night. I came home this morning and I walked in the house and it was like a sauna. And my son was like, yeah, the power, I guess, had flicked on and off last night or something, causing my furnace to have an aneurysm. We have an electric furnace in this house, and I don't know what the deal is with it, but occasionally when it gets disrupted, it decides to just not shut off regardless of what the thermostat's set at. And so it did that last night, and I guess it took him a while to realize it, and so he tried shutting it off. It wouldn't shut off, so he had to just shut the breaker off for the furnace. Okay, so he left it off for a while, and then before he went to bed, he turned it back on, because usually that's all it takes. When it does that, turn it off for a while and turn it back on, and it's fine. But apparently that was not the case, so he turned it on before he went to bed, and it ran all night long. So the house was crazy hot when he woke up this morning. I've got windows open, and I came home and I was dressed a bit warmer than I am now, and I just couldn't. I just could not, because it was way too hot. So I changed and I put this on, but I had this red tank top on underneath what I had on before, and I really like this red tank top because it's bright and pretty, and I just colored my hair again yesterday, so I'm rocking the red hair again, and my lipstick, so I'm all coordinated. And I don't know if it's weird to wear brown with red, but I thought it looked okay, so that's what I'm wearing anyhow. But yeah, I've got to figure out what's going on with my furnace. I think it's maybe just the thermostat that's goofed up. It's not the actual furnace, because an electric furnace is a fairly simple appliance. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong with it. I think my thermostat just needs to be replaced, so I will worry about that after I get back from my trip next week, which I'll talk more about my trip a little bit later. So, okay, let's get into the meat of the subject here. Knitting. Actually, technically, well, yes, actually I am going to start with knitting because I have a finished object and it is a knitted finished object. I finished my Astrid cowl. So, yay. It is not blocked yet. I am a horrible blocker. I had this vision the day that I finished it. I'm like, I should just soak this right now and block it immediately. And that never happened. But anyway, I love this pattern. I love the texture. I've said that before as I was working on it, but I just love it even more now that it's done. And once it's blocked and opened up like that, it's going to look great. Again, this was the Astrid cowl by Angela, who is the Delusional Knitter and has Delusional Knitter Designs. And obviously it's a long cowl, and it will be quite easy to double and wear inside a coat if it ever cools off again that I have to do that. But yeah, so I really, really like it. It was a fun pattern to work on. It was very intuitive. Not intuitive in that like I could not look at the chart, but the chart was very simple, like the stitch patterning. So as soon as you started it, you knew what you were going to do that one, and you could probably memorize like the next 4 to 6 rows and know what you were going to do. So it was a nice relaxing knit, but it was interesting enough to not get boring. I guess that's a good, I hope that sounds like a good way to describe it. I mean that in a positive way. Anyway, I knitted out of Madtosh sock in the Baltic color. I will be really interested to see what this does when I do soak it, because I have heard that Madtosh yarns have a penchant for bleeding. So I'll be interested to see how much color comes out of this. Obviously, it won't really matter since it's just, you know, it's its own thing. It's not like I did color work with it or anything, but I don't know. I've never knit with Madtosh before, so I don't have any experience with it. I just know what I've heard other people say. So it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, that is finished off my needles, my first official finished object for 2017. So that's exciting. Okay, now we will get on to my works in progress, and the first of which is not knitting, but it is crochet. And it's my granny stripes blanket. I finally counted, and I am now at 53 rows. I estimated last week at probably being around 50. I think I was probably more at like 47, because I seem to be getting about 3 rows per inch, maybe a little bit more. But anyway, here it is. It is definitely growing. And I also think I mismeasured it last week, because last week I think I told you I was a little over 13 inches, but I measured it today and it's just a little over 14 inches. And I know I did more than that. I did about 6 rows. Well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, well, when I finish this current row, which I'm almost done, it'll be 6, definitely 6 more rows since you saw it last. Maybe more. I don't remember. I guess I should maybe put like a progress keeper on here so I remember what row I was on when I showed it to you last. Anyway, I'm still enjoying it. It's going to go with me on my trip. I did move it to a different bag. I pulled out my bra bag. This is Erin Lane. That's who did this bag. I got this at my very first SSK. It's a nice big handled, sort of a bucket bag, I guess, would be how you could describe it. But anyway, I really love this bag, and it's full. I've filled it up with lots of minis so that I've got plenty of yarn to work with while I'm away. I guess it would really help if I put the crochet hook back in there too, because that would be horrifying if I got in the car tomorrow and realized my crochet hook was sitting here on my desk. Actually, let's see, where can I put it? Okay, I'll stick it way in here. There we go. That way it won't fall out. Anyway, it was so funny. I had this bag sitting out the other day, and Bill saw it, and he's like, "There are bras on that bag." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's a bag with ladies' underwear on it." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "But they're cute bras." He was baffled by the bras, but whatever. Men are baffled by bras. Okay, so anyway, that is my one work in progress that I'm still enjoying. I will say I am noticing that crocheting, the motion of crochet that I do with my right arm or my right hand, is actually starting to bother my shoulder a little bit if I do it for too long. I injured my right shoulder about 4 years ago, and it took a good while for it to stop hurting at all. It's usually pretty good. Every once in a while I'll do something that'll kind of trigger it to hurt, but I've noticed lately that if I sit and crochet for too long, just that, such a small motion, but it works up into my shoulder and it does start to bother a little. So I'm trying to be careful that I don't overdo that and really aggravate my shoulder, because that's not a pain that I enjoy. Not that I enjoy any pain, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't want to make that flare up big time. Okay, so let's move on. My other work in progress that I did work on was my Christmas Eve cast on, actually. Okay, that was the first one. Hang on. My Christmas Eve cast on sock. Where in the heck is the sock part? Goodness gracious. Here it is. So last week I showed you that I had cast it on anyway, because I had finally gotten another set of needles, but I was only a few rounds into the twisted rib. So I finished the twisted rib, and I'm about a little, maybe a few row, maybe a row or two past an inch of the sock. It's just plain stockinette sock. So I'm still enjoying this. This is my one of my sparkle sock blanks in the Welcome to Whoville colorway. So I'm really getting into this speckly area here now. I just think it's so interesting. Not just my sock blanks, but anybody's sock blanks. You know, they look so bold and bright in the sock blank, but as you knit it up, it just becomes so much more muted because it's not all in that one big chunk anymore. It's the magic of sock blanks. You just never quite know what you're going to end up with. So, but it's fun. Now here's the first one. You've seen that. But again, you can see, like, you can still see all those speckles, which are awesome. I'm getting blown out by the light here. But they're more muted than they show up in the bigger speckled chunks on the sock blank. So, anyway, this will be coming along with me on vacation as well. That's all I knit on this week. I did not make any more progress on the staggered rib sock, although I did get the needle back in my heel flap. If you remember last week, whenever I pulled it out to show you, I realized that the needle had come out of all the heel flap stitches, but it was fine. Right after the podcast, when I finished recording, I slipped it back in. No harm, no foul. But I have not done any more work on it. I will probably take that with me too, although I'm sort of hesitant because I'm afraid my mom will see that pair and she'll say, oh, I like those too. Those are mine. That one's mine. She took the first pair of staggered rib socks I did, so I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. What else? Yeah, I did not do any other knitting this week. That was it. I did not have time, to tell you the truth. It was a very, very busy week. I do have the show coming up in Disney next weekend on the 28th, but we're leaving tomorrow for our trip. So whereas I would usually have that entire last week before the actual show, is when I always have a lot to do and really go gung-ho and I'm crazy busy. That week got pushed back a week to now, this week, since we're actually leaving. It just feels very weird. I mean, in my brain, I know that, you know, I have to be all ready for this show a week ahead of time compared to normal, but it just feels really weird to have everything all done and ready for a show a whole entire week prior to actually doing the event. It's just different. I've never had that experience before. So in a way, I think it'll be kind of nice because my car will be loaded and we'll just be ready to go and doing all kinds of other stuff in between here and there. But anyway, that is why I did not get a whole lot of crafting done. I did do a little bit more spinning though. If you remember last week, I told you while I was stuck up at the mountain house doing fish survival duty, I started spinning some Knitting Color bats. And this is the first bobbin. I finished the first two bitty bumps or whatever she calls them. Let me see. Here are the remaining two. They're so pretty though, aren't they? I mean, it's very, very bright yarn and the light is sort of blowing it out. But look at all that sparkle. It's got that fuchsia and some orange in there. I love that color combination. So they're called Bitty Baddies. I'm confused. I did not weigh these before I started, but she's got 1 ounce circled, but then in here it's written 1.8 ounces. So I'm assuming maybe total it's 1.8 ounces. I'm just not sure. But it includes Angelina, Bamboo, Falkland, Firestar, Merino, and Silk. So they've got lots of yummy things in there. And again, that is Knitting Color, who is Sarah. There's her card. I don't know that it's gonna, there we go. She does have a shop on Etsy. She does stunning stuff. Her colors are so vibrant. So yeah, I have the first two Bitty Baddies done. These will be a second bobbin, and then it will be 2-plied. It was just a very fun, relaxing spin, which is what I needed that day that I started it and everything. So that was spinning, and the only other thing that I have worked on every day still is my stitching project, my 1 year of stitches or 365 days of stitches. I'm using both tags on Instagram, but here we are. So I have added things every single day. Let's see, what can I tell you that I added? Well, last night I added 2 more caterpillars down here. I don't remember if I think he was already there, but I added these two. And this one in the middle really looks wonky. I said on Instagram, he kind of looks like a mountain goat caterpillar hybrid or something, and a little odd looking. But anyway, there was one day where sometimes I know what I want to stitch, and then other days it's just sort of like, whatever. And so I sat down and I just started randomly stitching this geometric pattern up here, this purple thing. And I just did the purple outline the one day. And by the time I was done, I had to make myself stop because I wanted to keep going to actually make it look like something, but it wasn't looking like something. It was just this really random geometric design. I just wasn't getting anywhere that day, but whatever, it's fine. And so I posted it on Instagram, and people were kind of starting to come up with ideas of what it looked like. Picasso Kitty was the best one that I got, and I thought that was funny. So that was one day. Another day that I was just really tired by the end of my day, and I didn't have a lot of energy some nights to do much. But the one day I did do a little bit of fill in it, so I don't know if you can really see it. There's some purple stitching in that bottom triangle thing, and then there's some French knots there. So I figure I'll just slowly fill that in with stuff on days that I don't have any other ideas of what I want to do. I did do these 3 little butterflies one day. I love my little butterflies. They turned out super cute, even though they're itty bitty compared to the ladybug that's over here. Scale has no place in this project, frankly. It's just not an issue. So anyway, it's been a fun project. I will say there was one night, like I said, that I was super tired and I was so tempted to just go to bed and not do it, but I couldn't. Like, my own stubbornness, knowing that I had been doing this every day so far this year, would not let me go to bed without doing something. And I think that was the night that I filled in some of that geometric design. And then last night, like I said, I worked here during the day, and then I went up to the mountain house at the end of the workday, and I left the house and I started driving up there, and I realized I'd left this here because we had been here the night before. And I turned around, and I wasn't that far away. I was like 2 miles away. I turned around and I came back and got it. I was not going to not stitch last night. So anyway, it will be coming with me on my trip. And Bill's like, oh, you have to drag that whole thing with you. I'm like, I take multiple projects with me anytime I go anywhere. So adding a stitching project really is not a big deal. I'm fine with it. So anyway, that has been my crafting this week, which I guess is pretty good considering how busy I was. I'm happy with it. I do have a couple of projects on deck that will also be going with me on vacation. I know what yarn I'm going to use. I don't know what I'm actually going to make with this yarn. And these are both going to end up being samples for my table at the event that I'm vending at, and of course future shows. As I was dyeing this week, I dyed some things I don't usually dye for shows, or I haven't really dyed at all for the shop. I don't know. I'm not sure how best to describe this. When I first started my business, I had very specific ideas about what I was going to dye and on what yarn I was going to dye it. You know, I started pretty much exclusively only doing self-striping yarns, and I did that on fingering weight, and then I also did it on worsted weight, which at the time I don't know that there was anybody else doing self-striping on worsted weight. There may have been. I wasn't aware of them, and they weren't plentiful if there were other people doing it. But anyway, so self-striping, that's what I did. And I've always continued to do that on a variety of weights of yarn. Then I started doing semi-solids because people wanted semi-solids to use with the self-striping. And then I also started doing some, tonal and variegated colorways just for something to mix things up. But those, see, in my mind, I thought, okay, these are good colors for like shawls and things. So I mostly did those colors on like yarns that most people would use for shawls, like lighter fingering weights. My first one was called Cirrus. It was a base that I discontinued several years ago now. But it was a light fingering weight, and I replaced it with Sunshine, which I've just recently discontinued. which was another light fingering weight. But those were the ones that I would do, the variegated and the tonal colorways on. I never used my regular bases for those kind of colorways. And it's only really come to mind recently, I would say within the last year or so, that it's like people will use these colorways for a lot of other things other than just shawls. You can knit hats and mitts and scarves and cowls and anything out of variegated and tonal colorways. So I'm not really sure why I had that mind block for a while. I guess maybe I was basing it more on the fact that my specialty was self-striping and that's what people wanted to use for socks. But I don't know. That may not make a whole lot of sense to you, but as a dyer, I think we all sort of get some preconceived notions about what our customers are going to want to use our yarns for based on not their ideas, because we don't know their ideas, but based on our own ideas and how we tend to work with yarn. So I think it's probably an outgrowth of the fact that I have started using a lot of different yarns dyed with different techniques for different projects in my own personal knitting, that has helped me grow as a dyer and make decisions on what I'm going to dye on what bases, that are outside of the norm for me, if that makes sense. Anyway, to that end, I dyed some of my newer variegated and speckled colorways up on heavier weight yarns, which I mostly have not done. So I've got some that I'll be taking with me to this show, and I will have at subsequent shows this spring, including Indie Knit and Spin, which will be next month, here in Pittsburgh. Anyway, I did them on my mega bulky base, and also on my cozy worsted weight base. Wow, that is really getting blown out. I've got to come up with a better lighting solution. I do this every week. Trying to find a good place to show you this. Anyway, so this is Falmouth, which was one of my Antigua collection colorways on bulky, and this is Flurry on the cozy worsted weight base. So I know what yarns I want to use. I just don't know what patterns I'm going to knit with them yet. So I'm thinking I'm going to do some sort of bulky weight hat probably with the Falmouth in the mega base, and I would like to find like a little like scarflet or shawlette or something that I could do with a 220 yard worsted weight skein. So that's on my agenda today, to seek out patterns that I can use to knit some samples, because I'm going to have tons of knitting time in the car, and we're going to be at my mom's for 3 days before we head down to Disney. So I'm going to have all kinds of knitting time. So, and these will be nice because they're squishy and, not fingering weight, which is mostly what I'm working with everything else right now. So it'll be a nice change of pace. So those are my on-deck projects, and hopefully by the time I get back from my trip, they will be finished objects, since that's the whole point, is for them to be finished while I'm away. Okay, let's talk about cows, knit-alongs. First of all, the Work Your Whips cow. I have heard from all of the winners except one. I contacted that person this morning, so hopefully she'll get back to me. I do want to let you know, even though she already knows, the winner of the weigh-in tally was RJ Hugs, who is Rebecca. She was also one of the winners for like just the whole, when I did the drawings for the whole 3 months worth of the Work Your Whips cow, she was one of those prize winners too. But she had the most grams worth of finished whips in the whole knit along. She came in with 4,321.5 grams of finished objects. So congratulations, Rebecca. That was awesome. She just rocked it. She got so much done. There were a couple like notable runners up though, that even though you guys aren't getting prizes, I feel like you deserve a mention. The next highest grams were Katie 89, who is Debbie from Australia. She was also one of our prize winners. She was our December prize winner actually, for the knit along, and she had 4,030.6 grams. So congratulations, Debbie. That was a fantastic tally. And the third place was Sarah, who is Naughty Gnome. She has the Naughty Gnome podcast. She had 3,912 grams in total. So all of you, I mean, those three were definitely like way up there. You got a lot accomplished, and that is incredible and wonderful. Congratulations. But, you know, for all of you who have finished items that have just been sitting around, I hope you enjoyed that. I mean, I've heard from several people that they really liked that knit along because it did give them that push to get things done, and I think that's awesome. So anyway, let's talk about the knit along, the current knit along now. That is the A Year in the Life of a Knitter knit along. How many times can I say the word knit along? A Year in the Life of the... Okay, so now let's talk about the current knit along, which is A Year in the Life of a Knitter knit along. We're almost to the end of January, and when I record next time, January will be over, and I will announce the January winners. What I'm going to do is I'm going to offer one prize for every 50 posts, not counting my posts, one prize for every 50 posts in the winter thread, the winter quarter thread that came in January. So currently, minus my posts, I think we have a little bit over 100, like 104 maybe. So that would be 2 prizes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose 3 prizes if there's 2 prize winners. If we get up to enough that there could be 3 prize winners, I'll add a 4th prize. And I will announce the winners, and whoever contacts me first will get first pick of the prize that they want. Whoever contacts me second will get second choice, and so on. So there will be one leftover prize that will get carried on to the next month. That's how that'll work. The prizes for January, I'm doing, well, I'll just show them to you. How about that? The first one will be this skein from my personal stash of some Lorna's laces. This is her worsted weight, shepherd's worsted in the Roadside Jerry colorway. I love this colorway. I've had it for a really long time, but I've just never found the right project for it. So I thought maybe one of you might enjoy it. So that will be one prize. Another prize will be this fiber. This is some BFL Tessa Silk. This is my fiber that I've dyed in the fire colorway. And again, if you win and you choose this, if you're not a spinner, I will be happy to spin it for you and send you the yarn. If you are a spinner, you're welcome to just have the fiber. So that'll be the second prize option. And then the third prize option will be patterns, up to $10 worth of giftable patterns on Ravelry. So those will be the 3 prizes to choose from, and the 2 winners can send me their picks. And if we end up getting enough posts that I can offer a 4th prize or a 3rd prize, I will add a 4th option. So like I said, there will always be one that will carry forward. Okay, so February, again, we're still in the winter quarter, so the theme will remain the same: warmth, coziness, home. January's yarn focus was bulky weight. February's yarn focus is going to be worsted or Aran weight yarn, so you might be thinking about that. Again, the weight of the yarn that you're using for your projects is not a requirement. It's just your projects need to somehow fit in with the theme. So that's super loose. As long as you can make the theme work, then you're good to go. Okay, what else? I think that's it for 90%. 10%. Books. I'm almost finished with Born to Run, the audiobook that I was reading by Bruce Springsteen, or listening to. Still really enjoying it. It is a very well-written book, and I can't say enough good things about it. Obviously, I'm towards the end, so we're getting towards some more recent history, but it's been very interesting to listen to. I did download a couple more of that lecture series from that same professor that I talked about last week, for Bill and I to be able to listen to on our upcoming road trip. So we'll see if we get through any of those, and if we do, I'll tell you about those. Let's see. Other than that, it really is just the trip. We're leaving tomorrow, and we're heading south. So we're doing several things along the way. We're going to be stopping in North Carolina, Jacksonville, North Carolina on Saturday. That's where my oldest son still is living. He's not in the Marines anymore, but he still lives in that area. So we're going to get to see him and have dinner with him. And his birthday is next week, so get to celebrate his birthday a little bit early. And then I'm going to get to meet up with a friend who also lives in that area on Sunday morning, which will be fun. And then we'll hit the road from there and head down to my mom's, who is in, she's near Jacksonville, Florida. So we've got 2 Jacksonvilles in one trip. So we're going to spend a few days with her, which will be super awesome and very relaxing because there will be nothing that I have to do. It's great. Yeah, so we'll be spending some time with my mom, and then we'll be leaving there Wednesday, probably by lunchtime, and heading to Disney, where we will be staying for a couple of days. I am not taking part in the retreat. I've said that before. It's the Magical Fiber Fantasy Retreat. I won't be taking part in the retreat, just vending at the market, but as it worked out, and that was for a lot of reasons, just we weren't really sure how things were going to work out with different stuff going on, and so it just ended up to work out easiest for he and I to make our own plans. So we are actually going to spend 2 days doing Disney parks. We're going to do Epcot, and we're going to do Animal Kingdom Park. So we've got our fast passes. Finally, it took me forever to figure that out too. But anyway, we've got that all set up. So we're going to be doing that Thursday and Friday. We get to set up for the show Friday night, and then Saturday we vend. So that will be fun. And if you're going to be there, I can't wait to see you. If you're in the Orlando area or can drive in, I know there are public hours as well for the market, so maybe check that out. I'd love to have you come by the booth. Our booth is sort of like right front and center when you come in the doors to that ballroom, which is, I can't believe I got such a fabulous place. That was wonderful to find that out. So I shouldn't be difficult to find. And what else? Yeah, so that is Saturday, next Saturday, and then Sunday we'll be leaving bright and early Sunday to make the drive back up north. And on the way home, we're going to hit Charlotte, North Carolina, and have lunch with my daughter because I won't be seeing her again for a while since she's not coming home on her next break. So we'll get to see her, and then hopefully we'll make it the rest of the way home that same day. It's going to be a long driving day, but it's doable with both of us driving, and then we'll have Monday as a recoup day, which will be awesome and probably quite needed at that point. So that's the plan. It's going to be a wonderful trip. I'm really looking forward to it. Our first trip of 2017. It'll be fun. So yeah, I still have to decide on all my projects. I mean, I've talked about some projects I'm taking, but I feel like I need to make sure I have enough projects because you don't want to run out of projects when you're on a trip. Like that's ever a problem. Oh my goodness. Okay, just a little bit of shop news. Obviously, I am not doing a shop update this week since I'm going away. Hopefully, my next shop update will be that first weekend after I'm back, so the first weekend in February. I can't tell you for sure which day or time because I have to see what I'm going to come back with and like how many show leftovers I'll have, how much time I'm going to have to dye some new stuff because I definitely want to have some of the Valentine's Day colorways in the next shop update. So it all depends on what I come home with from Florida. But stay posted or stay tuned because I will keep you posted because I will definitely podcast probably that Wednesday after we get back. So February 1st. That way I'll be able to announce the January winners. So that's my plan for that. The second Killarney Collection Club shipment went out this week. So you should be getting that yarn if you haven't already. So be looking for that. And I wanted to know, I mean, this is the second shipment. I've still got one more shipment for this club, which will go out in March. I've got a February and an April shipment that's going to be going out for the Pie of the Every Other Month Club. But I'm thinking about future clubs, and I'm wondering, is there any interest in a fiber club? I haven't done a fiber-specific club in a while. And if there is interest, please let me know. Let me know in the episode thread. if there's a specific type of fiber club you might be interested in, like is there, I don't know. I don't know what y'all are interested in. I don't dye a lot of fiber anymore. I mainly do it for shows, but I know there are spinners out there who enjoy fiber, and I've kind of gotten away from it for a variety of reasons, but I thought I would love to do it for a club if there is any interest. So let me know about that. Otherwise, I think that's everything. I'm going to go because I still have a good bit of things to get done today to get ready to go, and I have to load my car up with everything. So I've got less to do, but I'm going to process the podcast, get it out there, and I think that's everything. So I'm just going to say goodbye for now. Please have a wonderful upcoming weekend and the next week. I hope everything goes great for you. Take care, and I will talk to you when I return from my trip. Bye.